First thing on our agenda is approval of the minutes. Is there a motion to approve?
I would approve the minutes of the last meeting. I would also compliment Barbara for the way she organizes them. Makes it very easy to read. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Barbara, for excellent work there. So I'll second that. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Looking for Janet. So next things, communication announcements. Priscilla, did you have one you wanted to make about?
Oh, yeah. I had distributed, had pictures of Main Street Magazine because it's a photo beautifully taken by Laszlo at the top of Mohawk Mountain in Cornwall. And there is a mistake on the front page. It says December 2022, but it's really the January 2023 issue if you open it up and read the table of contents. Thank you, Laszlo.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Priscilla, for bringing that up. And hopefully we'll get some winter weather here fairly shortly, but not too much. Been a little hard on the slopes. Yeah. So any other communications, announcements? Addition to the agenda? I don't have any. Let's see. So first thing on our agenda is,
Hey, Gordon.
hey, Janet.
I'm just wondering, I wanted to add about composting, municipal composting. Can we just have a brief conversation about that? I don't need to go into a whole lot of detail, but I have a little bit of stuff.
Okay. Okay, we can put that in.
Thank you.
All right. So I'll second that. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
So then, first thing on our agenda is last week's holiday storm Elliott. Just like to thank everybody that pulled together to get us through the storm, power outages that followed. Some people were out of power for almost 4 days. Tough time of year for that. We had about 30 different places of lines damaged and repairs to be made by Eversource. They did a good job of community liaison, but also because of our efforts with the highway and fire departments identifying where there were problems, and by emergency management director Diane Beebe was able to track those outages as we went through the weekend. We were able to get people back on power sooner than if we hadn't done anything. So again, thanks for people that helped to make that better. Rocco helped put up some notices on the website, and also the UCC opened up briefly, I believe it was on Saturday, the warming room at the parish house to try that out. So that worked out well, and people were able to come down and recharge their devices and their energy if they didn't have power. So again, good effort on a lot of people's parts to make that a better situation. And hopefully we won't have too many more outages with a wind chill near zero. But people need to have a backup plan for power and heat. In these months, we were lucky in some ways that it was mostly a hilltop event, and the 3 villages did not have power outages. So that was able to spread it out as opposed to a townwide event, even though there were outages all over town. It was mostly on the top of the hills, not in the villages. So again, thanks everybody for helping us get through that. Unfortunately, in the middle of all that, one thing that did not get through was substantial damage to the West Cornwall covered bridge, which was very unfortunate. It's not the first time, but it's probably the worst damage I've seen in cars, buses being stuck. A Jeep one time flipped over inside the bridge, I remember. People have hit the bridge. But this particular incident did bridge from damage from one end to the other on the bridge. It's remarkable to me that the person who was driving did not stop until they were outside the bridge. But the good news is that the state was on the job quickly and got their repair people on it who were, I think, committed to getting the bridge back as quickly as possible. They made some temporary repairs to this superstructure of the bridge, which was damaged, and the bridge, especially with the high winds, was beginning to rack somewhat. It was a serious amount of damage to the trusses, rafters, and even went through the roof. Took out the lights. We did have a nice person today who heard about the damage and did offer to replace the lighting in the bridge. So I have relayed his generous offer off to the state. I went down and checked the bridge again today and met with the DOT people there who are on the job. I think the other good piece of news is the state has a Mohawk construction company doing the work, and they are very good. They did the bridge rehabilitation several years ago when they sort of did a top to bottom redo of the bridge. They also were the crew that replaced the bridge on Lower River Road by Ian Shop when that got washed out in Hurricane Irene in, I think, about 6 weeks, which was about a record for replacing a bridge, including driving piles for that bridge. So this obviously is not quite as catastrophic or as extensive as that damage, but the bridge was pretty heavily damaged from one end to the other. I believe the state police know who the driver was, and there will be some repercussions as far as liability for doing that. So the DOT did not give any estimate as far as how long the bridge will be closed, although they have started the actual final repair. Their strategy is to repair the whole works and not just do a temporary fix and have to come back. So they want to fix it from one end to the other, get the whole thing done. Probably have a better idea by the end of the week, early next week, as far as time schedules. I did talk to somebody there, and I'll continue discussion. One thing other people have mentioned is some ideas of, again, how do you prevent this type of activity from happening again? And I think at least there should be maybe some more signage emphasizing that it is a low bridge. I mean, it's not low if you drive a regular car, but it is apparently low enough to create problems. And I think probably, larger signs would be much less of a deal than trying to do the type of repairs we've got now. So I will bring that up with DOT, and there are also other places. They did mention that they do have other bridge warning systems that are in place in other, not necessarily in Connecticut, but in other bridges that can actually send out warning if they think oversized vehicles are about to hit a bridge. So I would encourage the state to do something. People have also suggested the metal guardrail, football, I-beam construction, and that's in place in Kent. And I believe the DOT people said today that the higher ups do not want to go that route at this particular time because of the obviously aesthetic damage that putting girders in front of the historic landmark would do. But it also, we want to somehow try to keep this from reoccurring. It's not just an inconvenience, but it also is a public safety concern because it effectively cuts off the West Bank of the Housatonic from the coverage of the Cornwall Fire Department, which is the first responder. So when we have ambulance or accidents over there, the delay is real. There was a car accident south of the bridge on Route 7 this afternoon. The car flipped upside down, and Falls Village ambulance was actually there ahead of our ambulance because it took so long to drive down to Cornwall Bridge and up Route 7. We're lucky that people had arranged to have mutual aid if there is a incident on the West Bank. So Falls Village and Sharon will be covering in addition to Cornwall, but Cornwall's response is delayed. So I think it is more than just inconvenience. It's a real public safety concern, all the more reason to try to keep people from doing this again. So if anybody has some practical suggestions on all this, I'll be glad to hear them and relay them to DOT. Again, I think at minimum, there should be low bridge ahead, maybe different signs than the normal signs that say 10 feet 6 inches, because obviously people either they have bad math skills or they don't know how tall their excavator is, but something is clearly not adding up when people are approaching that bridge. Plus the amount of, this particular case, the amount of force it took to do that amount of damage was considerable. It not only,
you were saying that you don't want to put one of those, because if you go on the Kent Bridge, there's a kind of pre-bridge, so it tells you whether you can fit through it, that you don't have to have math skills or anything. If you can't get through that, you can't get through the bridge.
I think the hesitation would be not to put it right next to the bridge, because that will pretty much affect the aesthetic of the bridge itself.
Well, the bridge,
I mean,
perhaps on the entry, like there's two roads that go into it. Perhaps, like up the road a wee bit, it could be set up so that people could gauge whether they fit or not.
I think also in Kent, you've got a single lane road there. Here you've got a double lane road. It'd take a pretty massive structure to achieve things that way. I'll be curious to see what the DOT gets, thinking about that. But I would say that putting something like that right in front of the bridge would be a last resort at this point. So, I mean, it's a judgment call, state bridge, but if people have alternatives that may not be as intrusive as beam rail, that might be time to put those forward.
There's some kind of electronic eye that could see if a vehicle was not going to fit and could flash a warning.
Correct. Yes, apparently those exist. So that's another direction I would like to see. I'm not sure what happens when it triggers the eye, but it'd be less whatever happened, whether it's a stop sign came out or a load of grapefruit got dumped on the car. I don't know, but truck. But I'm sure there are ways the engineers have thought about this type of thing, but the electronic eye was another whole thing that might be less intrusive than the goal, because
it is difficult to see around too. I mean, if you're coming around from going north on Route 7, you come down, you kind of have to wing it. I mean, you get used to figuring out how to do it, but if you're not used to doing it, a lot of people will pull in. I'm surprised we haven't had more issues with that as well.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, again, the DOT has been good about the signage part of things.
Yeah.
So
it just seems like an electric guy might solve that problem too. Someone's bridge, or a green for go when it's your turn, and then measuring your car of some way.
Right. Yes. Okay. So anything more about the bridge. So it might be time for some high-tech solution to help us preserve our important antique.
I have a couple of questions, if that's okay, Gordon.
I think we can hold those to the end.
That's
Right.
fine. That's fine.
Yep, we probably don't have a long agenda, but like to chat it up at the end. Okay. Next, we have administrative assistant schedule. We do have 4 or 5 people that have expressed interest in the job of administrative assistant for the Board of Selectmen. And I'd like, as soon as we get all the resumes back, we will be conducting some interviews in executive session, hopefully in the next week or 2 before the budget season really kicks in. So I will send something out in the board. We will be doing those interviews in person at an executive session meeting. And I have asked Joyce and Barbara Herbst if they want to sit in on those interviews, as they have a lot of experience in the requirements of the office. So that that'll probably be the end of next week or early the following week. So I'll let you know about some possible dates when we might have that special meeting. Budget season is coming up. Barbara has put out a note to all town departments asking them for their budget requests, noting that there probably will be some necessary increases in town spending this year because of things like heating oil and insurance that have gone up at a much more than usual rate. So we hope to get those back by the 1st of February, last week of January. But it would be my thought to try to meet with the highway department and the transfer station folks ahead of that, maybe at our next meeting, maybe at a special meeting. So we'll see where we go with that. So that's coming up. So we will have some special meetings coming up in January. Any questions about the administrative assistant schedule or the budget season schedule? We normally have to have our budget finished by mid-February to present to the board. Yes. So it means usually the end of January, we'll have to have some special sessions. Okay. One group that's finished their work for the head of the season is the ARPA committee. Made its final allocations. They gave $100,000 as requested to the Cornwall Housing Corporation for site development for housing. They gave $35,000 to Little Guild for site development of their new headquarters in Cornwall, and $38,000 to the Food and Fuel Fund for necessary assistance for people for this winter. And finally, $5,000 additional dollars to the Greenwoods Counseling Service, which has seen an uptick in need over the last 2 years. So again, thank the ARPA committee for their work. They've met over the last 2 years. I think they've spent the funds wisely, have spread it out. Each one of these towns has different priorities, but I think these funds did make a big difference to our nonprofits that did see a decline in fundraising during the pandemic, to some of the impacted businesses, to our first responders, as well as many people that rely on assistance from the town due to the still feeling the fallout from some of the downturn in the pandemic. So basically the $400,000 has been spent at this point, so that task force is finished. Any questions on that? Okay. Another task force that is not finished is the housing task force, which is meeting I believe it's next Tuesday on the 10th at 4 p.m. by Zoom. So that meeting is coming up. There is a meeting to review the plan of conservation development the end of January. So they're getting organized for that, working on some housing initiatives. The legislature, the Connecticut State Legislature, is going back into session in February. So there is a meeting. The Council of Small Towns is having their annual meeting on January 11th. That's in person at the Turf Club. I'm probably going to go to that. If anybody else wants to go with me, they're interesting meetings. Little apprehensive as COVID is kicking up, but anyway.
What time is that, Gordon?
That's sort of an all-day thing from 9:30 till about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And usually the legislative leadership is there talking about what they see happening with the upcoming session. And, there's people there probably from 100 or so towns in Connecticut. So
I'd be interested to go. I'll check my schedule and confirm that with you if that's okay.
yeah, that's fine. That would be a Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Yeah, so it's interesting. There's a
Okay.
lot of vendors selling everything from sewer plants to insurance for towns there. So it's a good event. There is also a Council of Governments legislative breakfast. I think that's scheduled for the 17th of January, which I believe is a Tuesday. So again, I'll get information out to the board about that. It's just a chance to meet with our legislative leaders and again, an opportunity to hear what's going on in the state legislature. Overall, the state is in much better financial condition than it was several years ago. So that's good. So that brings us, I think, to compost. Janet, compost.
Yeah. So there was I think it was New York Times, forgive me. I'm not remembering the exact, it could have been the Times or one of the other more regional papers, but they had a whole series on composting. And I actually reached out, there's a group called Curbside Compost, and they do municipal plans and individual home plans. I did talk to Nick today just to kind of get an idea of how much it costs. And he's ballparking it because he would want to go see the transfer station and such. But it looked like it would cost about $500 a month for anybody in Cornwall to be able to compost. Like you get buckets. They just basically have those at the transfer station. They come and get the buckets. They do everything. So all you have to do is just bring your compost, or we could do it on a residential basis, which is also very reasonable. It's like $35 a month. So, I wouldn't mind, I would love to see if he could come back to the transfer station and give us a better, exact idea, but it seems like a very low bar to really reduce our trash because the statistics show that, about 50% of our waste is compostable. And I can tell you from, we've gotten very aggressive about composting at my house. We have a electric composter that basically turns all your scraps into compost or dirt. And we throw away less than one garbage bag a week. So I don't even know what our trash guys are throwing away. It's hardly anything. So I'm actually thinking maybe we should change that. But what I can tell you is it has a tremendous impact. The folks at Lomi, I also talked to them. They would also be willing to give our town a break on composters. So if we bought electric composters and gave them to people at a discount, then we could start lowering the bills that way. And then running this municipal program would keep the bills down even further. I mean, the less trash we put in, the less we're sending out, and it's very expensive. If we can cut our trash down, even 30%, that would be very impactful. So I would love to keep pursuing this and maybe have Nick come out and check out the transfer station.
Does he have a company?
He does. It has a tremendous amount of ratings. It's reviewed on Google. I checked out his website. I did have a conversation with him. I think they're working, it looks like about 20 towns now. Most of them in Westchester.
What's his company called?
Curbside Composting.
Okay.
And he would be very happy to get some business up in this corner, but he would be happy to work with just one town and and get going too.
Okay. So yeah, maybe we can put that on our agenda. I think I've got a note from the Conservation Commission. They want to talk about compost, and maybe we can, I know there have been some information put out with the people that are running the Litchfield program now, or picking up from Litchfield. It's a different company. What some of the towns had found was that the cost of coming up to just one town was prohibitive. That was costing, I think, 6 or 8 times as much to get rid of garbage through a compost company as it was through the garbage, the regular garbage hauling. So again, we'll, I think, try to tag on with some other places, but it doesn't hurt to hear from other people, other places they're doing it. So let's put that on the agenda for next time if he wants.
So is it okay to have Nick come up and just check out the transfer station then?
Yeah,
And I'd be
I'm
happy
going to
to
see
meet him.
Ted. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to talk to Ted on Thursday. So let me give him a heads up ahead of time.
Sure. Yeah, and I'll talk to Nick and just set up a time for him to come up when the transfer station's open. And we
Right.
can get a better idea. Also, get that at the meeting with all the towns, there might be an opportunity to rally some people to work together.
Yeah. Good.
Okay.
All
Excellent.
right. Anything
Okay.
else on compost?
No, I'll talk to Nick, and I'm also going to talk to the Loamy people. I've just found that being able to throw the stuff. I mean, I have lots of compost, so it'd be nice to be able to put some in the municipal, but make some of my own. So I'm doing it both ways. I will talk to the Loamy people also and just see what they can offer.
Okay. All right. So then I think we've gotten to our agenda. So public comments. Riley, you had some questions there.
Yes, hi, everyone.
Hello.
My questions are on the bridge. So you said you don't have an estimate for when the repairs will be completed. You'll know later this week, early next week. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So I'll follow up with you early next week if that's okay on that. Did you know what he was towing? You said it was an excavator?
I believe it was an excavator, a backhoe on the back of a trailer pulled by a pickup.
Okay, that's what
I didn't see it. That's just what's been reported in the paper.
Right. Okay, thank you. And you said you're speaking with someone at DOT?
Yes. They have a
Okay.
bridge unit that, I mean, this is one of the jewels in DOT's crown is the West Cornwall Bridge. I mean, they take it very seriously. There's a picture of it at their headquarters in Newington. So they care a lot about it. They spend a certain amount on upkeep without having to do this work. Yeah, so I will be talking to their bridge unit people. They have people that look after it, and particularly assigned to this bridge, that I know they're probably as upset as anyone that this is happening. So
Can I ask a question?
yes, is that it, Riley? Or you have more questions?
Sorry, do you have a specific contact at DOT, or is it just the bridge unit in general?
Well, I want to talk to somebody at the bridge unit and find out who's leading the charge on this.
Okay. Once you know, can I follow up with you on that too?
Sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
very good. Thank you, Gordon. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yeah, yes, Richard.
What about the financial problem that certain businesses in West Cornwall might have for the bridge being affected? Is this person who drove through it, did they have some sort of liability insurance that they could help cover? I mean, my wife's shop has lost business because of this sort of thing. I was just
I'll
wondering.
bring to the DOT and see how that works. I don't know if the liability insurance extends to third parties as opposed to just the people that own the damaged property. I did make an effort to reach out to a news organization. I think NBC came down, did a little piece on West Cornwall and how nice it is even with a smashed up bridge. So again, emphasizing that the business is still open is really important.
They should make that sign bigger.
Yeah.
The red blinking light.
That's it. Yeah. Okay, I'll say, I'll find out if there's any damage from
Hi,
Okay.
Gordon. Michelle here.
it. Yeah, Michelle. Hello.
Hey, Happy New Year from Park and Rec. How are you
Happy-
guys?
Good. How are you?
Good. I just wanted to give you a few dates to mark our calendars. Park and Rec is planning some movie nights to get through the boredom of winter. So our first one in January is Sunday, January 2nd. Our snow date would be January 29th. They'll be from 5 to 7:30 p.m. and that'll be at Town Hall. We'll have pizza, popcorn, and concessions for people to purchase. It'll be a really fun time. Put your jammies on, bring your sleeping bag, come have a Sunday evening, just hanging out together. And the movies will be announced soon, so keep an eye on our Park and Rec Facebook page and our website. The idea is we're going to kind of try to gear the January one to more of our younger population. And then February, we'll be doing another one on the 25th and gear that movie kind of towards our older kid population. So stay tuned, but we just wanted you to mark those calendars and welcome everyone. Happy New Year.
Could you revise review the dates one more time, Michelle?
Yes, so January 22nd with a snow date of January 29th. And then February 25th, snow date March 3rd. And there'll be 5 p.m. to 7:30.
Got it. Thank you, Michelle. Wonderful.
You're welcome.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Michelle. Good to start
You're
the
welcome.
year off with some entertainment.
Right,
Yeah.
we're hoping to have something, that's something to touch base. Park and Rec's looking to try to do something at least once a month. So
Yeah.
be prepared, stay tuned, keep your calendars, and we've already started working on our summer music events, so be ready.
Nice.
The other thing too, I know you guys are busy, but the winter skating was a really good thing on Saturdays for multi-generational event during the same long night period. And I know that Hotchkiss, we used to go up to Hotchkiss to do it, but if there are other schools or rinks that are available, especially because it's like been a non-winter, if somehow we could publicize skating at other rinks or some place that are available during the winter, that might be good.
As you speak, Gordon, I've submitted an agenda and ice skating for next winter. We're going to begin that discussion and see what we can do about that. We've got some creative ideas, so stay tuned. Park and Rec has some good ideas of bringing some of the rec to Footfield and other places around town. So skating is on the agenda.
Nice.
Okay. Okay, any other comments? Okay, well, hearing none, other than for the movie business, I'll make a motion to adjourn. Thank everybody for coming. Stay tuned, a lot of meetings, a lot of things coming up. And thank you all for attending. So motion to adjourn. Second,
Second,
any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Good
Okay, good night, everyone.
night.
All right.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.